At some point in set 10, you probably asked yourself a question like, how exactly does the headliner mechanic work? Why can't I find the unit that I'm looking for? And does selling my headliner even make a difference? In this video, I will try my best to explain the headliner mechanic in detail. This will include information that you've never heard before, so stick around until the end. Like always, let's start with the basics. The first rule that everyone should know by now is that you receive a headliner in every shop if you currently don't have one on your board or bench. If you buy a headliner, then this rule will change. The next 3 shops will be normal, and every 4th shop a new headliner will appear. As I showcased in my previous Mythbuster video, there's also a rule regarding alternating traits. If you buy or skip a headliner, then the next time you see this champion, it will have a different trait doubled. As an example, if you have a Katarina country headliner and you roll past her, the next time you see a Katarina, she will 100% be a crowd diver headliner. As for units with 3 traits, as far as I can tell, it works like this. Any trait only has to sit out once. So for example, if we have a Nar with Mosha, then either Pentakill or Superfan will show up the next time. If he rolls Pentakill next, then you won't have a guarantee for Superfan. In this example, it will be a 50-50 between either Mosha or Superfan for the next roll. If you're a dedicated TFT player, then you probably know this much by now. So let's go deeper and unravel the mystery of headliner rules. For this, let's use something that we haven't really done on this channel so far, data mining. I will spare you the details as this is not a topic that I'm well versed in. By digging through Riot's API, you can easily find some pretty interesting lines. For example, here we have recent trade no repeat num with a value of 4. If we take this by its face value, then we should expect a trade to be locked for 4 shops until it can appear again. So I hopped on a few accounts, pushed for level 6, gathered a lot of gold, rolled everything down, put the data in a table and repeated the process. I think this might be a good time to remind you to subscribe to my channel. With this data sample, I can check the shortest distance between 2 of the same trades appearing. The result was very clear. While there wasn't really an upper limit in sight, the shortest distance between 2 trades was in fact 4. For example, here we have a Twitch Executioner in the shop. For the next 4 shops, it is not possible for Vex or Samira with the Executioner headliner to appear. In the 5th shop, with the help of good RNG, I end up receiving an Executioner Samira. Just to be clear, this does not mean that there is a guarantee to see a trade or anything. It is simply a case of can it even appear. If it's a viable choice, then it still has to contest with every other viable choice. Now that we know that traits are locked, what about champions? Here we can find the following lines. Cost champ, no repeat num. There is a value of 7 for 1 cost, 2 cost and 3 cost champions. 4 cost champions have a value of 5 and 5 cost champions have a value of 4. We can use the same data sample as before and instead of traits, we look for the distance between 2 champions. I can definitely confirm that this rule is in place as well. Every time I skipped a headliner with level 6, I had to go through 7 shops before I was able to see the same unit again in the 8th shop. As before, there doesn't seem to be an upper limit, so in theory, if you're skipping a country Katarina to find a crowd diver Katarina, then it will take a minimum of 8 rolls, but there is no guarantee you will ever find her. I also did some tests for T4 units and I was able to find a Twisted Fate again after 5 shops of different headliners. This fits in perfectly with the adjusted values for higher tier units and it also makes a lot of sense since you have a smaller champion pool to work with. So you can expect a minimum of 5 shops in between the same tier 4 headliners and 4 shops for the same tier 5 headliners. This is the core for headliner rules, but we're not done yet. From here on out, don't take everything by face value and be skeptical about my conclusions. This warning out of the way, let's discuss what happens if you sell a headliner. My initial approach was simple. I went with the same setup as before, but this time instead of blindly rolling down my gold, I bought and sold every single headliner in my shop. If selling a headliner makes no difference, then we should end up with the same rules as before. Going over the data, it becomes clear this is not the case. Here is an extreme example. I have a Bard with a Jazz headliner. I buy him, sell him and roll. Now I have a Misfortune with Jazz as her headliner. I do the same as before and now I have a Bard again, but this time with Dazzler. This is by no means a normal outcome, but it proves that the rules can be broken. Receiving Jazz twice in a row shouldn't be possible, and finding a second bard within 2 shops shouldn't be possible either. Overall, buying and selling the headliner definitely did not follow the same rules as before. The only rule that seemed consistent was that the same champion could never appear twice in a row. When I tried to only buy and sell 1 unit and then rolled for a few times, I ended up with the original rule set. This is where stuff kinda becomes weird. So what is the cause for the broken rules? Something I noticed that was unnatural was the amount of units sold and the speed at which I sold them. Testing this a bit more, I was able to break the rule set again after quickly buying and selling 3 headliners in a row. For example, here I have a Seraphine with a KDA headliner. She's followed by a Bruiser Gragas, an Executioner Twitch, and a Bruiser Set. There was a single shop difference between Gragas and Set, which means in this example the rules were broken. This indicates that the amount of units that you sell and the speed at which you sell them could be relevant. Now, I'm not 100% confident in telling you that you should buy and sell your headliners. In a lot of cases it will not make any difference, except that it will cost you a lot of gold. Please remember that I'm showing you outliers where the rules stopped working. I'm not showing you the hundreds of rolls where everything was the same. It also doesn't even have to be about selling units. For example, here I bought a Pentakill Viego and 4 shops later I end up with a Pentakill Karthus. Was it the act of buying Viego that reset the rules? And how long would it take from this position for another Viego to show up? There are also more questions if we talk about Akali, because this unit is a complete mess. It is in fact possible to get an Executioner Akali twice in a row, probably because of some weird shenanigans caused by her breakout trait. There are definitely a ton of questions that still remain unanswered. Since this topic is not fully solved yet, you can expect another video in the future once there is a better understanding of the headliner mechanic. But for the moment, I'd rather work on my APZ than to keep resetting my custom games. If you found anything interesting, let me know in the comments. I hope you learned something and see you next time.